crazy and expensive. And I don't know, there's just so much you can get outside of London. I feel like if you have a car where it's easy to like see the people that you want to see, then it's not too bad.
But even that though, as I'm getting older, it's like I don't just see people for the sake of it anymore. Not in a rude way, but it's like life's just so busy. You're raising your family.
Yeah.
I don't really have time to just see people for the sake of it. Like, so it's always going to be like a arranged thing.
Yeah.
Which is cool because then you just drive into London when you need to go somewhere.
True.
Realistically.
I feel like it's a gift and a curse being born in London, because I feel like you just have this thing in you that you can't leave or part with.
Old London, I would never want to leave old London. But this London that we live in now, it just feels like it's business only. Like I don't get, there's no community.
Yeah.
There's nothing here.
That's true, you know, because my brother said as well, he was like, people just welcome you. Like they live in a masonette with other young couples and other people and stuff like that. And everyone's just so friendly and there's this community vibe. And I spoke to someone on the phone who moved from London to like Suffolk or something. And he was like, don't think it's going to be boring. There's always something to do here. And it's a lot nicer, but it does take you like a couple months to get used to the silence. It's so peaceful.
No, 100%. I think that's what it is. It'll be an adapting to it, but I just don't know if I'm ready to leave the hustle and bustle of London yet.
Same.
I just don't think I've achieved everything I want to here. But that doesn't mean that if I leave that I'll never come back. So
true. And also I think it's different when you have like the people that you already want to live with. Do you know what I mean? Like your family and stuff. Like with me as a single person, I'm like, what about, because my social life is still more active.
See, that's the thing that I've been with. It's a pointless thought in my head. But I was just like, if I didn't have my foundation set up the way it is now, what would I be doing living wise? Like what would I be seeking living wise? Because I think I would just probably just leave the country, you know, for a bit.
Really?
Like go to another European city. I'll try and experience that, because I don't know, London, like whenever I speak to someone that's
it's
not
a bit soul sucking.
Yeah, when I speak to someone that's not in a relationship or even taking the relationship away from it, people that don't have kids, people that don't have anything that's keeping them here basically.
Yeah.
It's like outside right now is treacherous. Like there's nothing great outside. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Not that there's no hope, but it's like finding.
I wasn't even thinking that, but
it's like finding it is becoming so much more difficult because, number one, like finding companionship, you just don't know who people are really these days. Like it's not the same as before, where I'm not saying people wasn't hiding stuff, but now it's like there's this proper facade that people try and live up to, and it's all like, as much as people,
like what kind of facade?
like as much as people try and say that they're not, there's a heavy influence from social media, and it's like there's always been an influence from some sort of media. Like before, it might have been TV and celebrities in that sense, but now you're getting influenced by regular people who are trying to hide elements or push elements to the side that these people are regular though. Like, if you know what I mean, they're not like celebrities that's been media trained and been brought up a certain way. This is your person.
It's just Joe down the road.
But now there's this big star.
But now they're Big Joe on
you're
YouTube.
now trying to live up to them, and it's like, or even following what they're saying. It's
I
just
see what
like
you mean. I hear what you mean.
the common.
Exactly.
I don't like the phrase the common man or the common woman, but do you know what I mean? Just the normal day-to-day person is not the same normal
and
day-to-day
who they lie
person
about
anymore.
what they are. Like, there's no way of proving they are who they say they are.
Like it's never. But you don't
but that's
have to.
why I put so many disclaimers on the pod as well, because I'm like, just know you're seeing me in my least mad moment. Like everything I'm talking about today has come from something I've learnt the hard way last week.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So even though it's a well-being podcast, like don't think, you know, where like, oh, you know, like just if anyone, just the way that I listen to people, like, oh, you know, do Kam and Darren do that? I shouldn't do that. And then you just, you know, shame yourself. It's just not like that.
I even posted something today. I said, I think I put a question like, whose rules are you even living by anymore? Because, and that's where I left it. But what I wanted to say next was, because society standards and rules they're out the window to me. Like everything that we used to live by and value.
Coming from?
I don't know. I've just been in a reflective mood. Like, I don't know.
Which society upset you today?
It's just a lot,
No,
man. It's just a
really?
lot. It's just a lot of society that's just feeble, and it's just like, what happened? What happened to society? I just looked at society. I don't know what brought it on, and I was just like,
so mad you say this, because I was thinking that when I was on the bus, I was looking at all the different kinds of people, and I was like, it's crazy because it's so multicultural, and that's beautiful. But then, is there more division?
I think so, but it's also like, I don't know. I just don't know what rules we're meant to be living by now. Like, you know, like there was certain pathways. You do this, you do this, you do that, and you should be having a happy life. You do this, you do that, you do this, you should have a happy life. But life's like, even if you do those things, life doesn't look that happy over there. And it's just like, is that because we're still thinking of old society standards, and society itself hasn't moved on from the old standards to what life really is now? So it's kind of like, set your own rules, because the rules that they put in front of us.
I agree. And you know what? I saw this thing about how the happiest people or the healthiest people mentally, something along those lines, are people who are adaptable and flexible, like flexibility of the mind, just like with your body, you know,
100%.
like if you're healthy, you're flexible. And with your mind, you're flexible. I feel like society is ever changing, and it's meant to be that way.
100%.
But I think...
But there's certain narratives that's just being pushed more than ever now.
Like
and
what?
it's like, if you're not fitting in, like, all right, for instance, even me, like, I like exercise and I like healthiness, but it's like, I can't go for 5 minutes without seeing girls. Yeah, let me use girls, because men, they just dress however. But like girls dressed in gym pants and socks tucked in with their trainers, like they all got this gym aesthetic, yeah. And it's like half
active wear is what it's called.
Active wear, right?
But yeah, go on.
And I'm like, this growing up used to be like the LA look, if that makes sense, like so superficial and
like
stuff.
Victoria Beckham or something.
Cool. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, because health is wealth, yeah. But it's like, you are not even trying to be healthy. You're just wearing it because you think this is how you're meant to look in society. When was the last time you went for a run? When was the last time you went to the gym?
Yeah.
You're just wearing it because...
No, you know why I'm laughing? Because I was looking at myself in the reflection on the train, and I was like, I look with my water bottle and everything, I look like I'm going to the gym.
Yeah.
So it's just so funny hearing this now, because I was like, there's no way I'm going to the gym.
That's just how, like, do you know what I mean? And it's like, if you're not doing that, you almost look like you're out of place. And it's like, whose rules are you living by? Because...
But like, that has been true forever.
Forever, I know. But it's like, now it's
like
more...
it's fashion of the time.
Yeah, but this seems deeper than fashion. It's like people's... I don't know how to describe it. This seems deeper than fashion to me. I don't know why.
You know what? It's because it is, but it's not new, in my opinion. Because I feel like even in the 90s, there was like an aesthetic, and we were too young because we were kids.
Maybe that's what it is. Like,
yeah, and in the 80s, yeah. So I feel like everything we're experiencing is everything that has been here before. We're just experiencing it for the first time.
You're probably right.
And that's why all older people sound the same. When I was a kid, blah, 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 it was so much better than this.
That's the path that I don't want to walk down.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, because number one, I'm not old yet to be saying that when I was a kid.
I'm not saying you're old. I'm just saying, you know, like.
No, but I'm just saying within myself, like, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not of age. But again, even with the age thing, it's like, I've had to fight myself down on this age thing. Like, oh yeah, I'm at an age now where I can't be doing this, or I'm at an age where I need to start thinking about. No, I'm not really. I'm at the age that I feel like I am, and it's. Do you know what it is as well? It's like, you see when you meet new people, and they try and guess your age and stuff. And it was so funny because I had a conversation with my friend, and we was in the barber shop, and 2 younger kids came in, and they left. And I was like, why are they moving like that? And then I was like, oh, they're walking in here and we're like big men for them now, innit? Like, it didn't even click in my head. And I was like, I don't feel a day older than 30. Even that's a push. I feel like, yeah. And then when people meet you and they're like, oh, how old are you? And you tell them the age, like, no way, I thought you was this age. And you're just like, because I do feel that energy within me of that age. I don't
like
feel...
time kind of freezes at 27.
But you forget that
it hasn't.
It hasn't. And some people's, like, depending on their age group, like the youngsters, the teenagers, are looking at you like a big person.
It's crazy.
People in their 20s, maybe not so much. They think you're a bit younger. And it's just like you're trapped in this time warp where in your mind, you can look at your age and be like, oh, I'm 30 something. People are just going to look at me as an old person if I do X, Y, and Z. But there's two people. There's people that will look at you as that older person, but there's also people that will look at you and be like, you don't look that old. So it's like, what is your truth within yourself? Do you know what I mean?
It's so true, you know, because you even have people in like their 60s, 70s, 80s who don't look a day over 40. It's just your life. And you know what? It's so crazy because there's all these things compared to what you thought they was going to be when you were like 20, you know, and what you thought you were going to be by that time. And then I am so not doing what my parents did, you know.
But that's like, what I mean by society rules, because when we was younger, in whatever age, some of these things didn't exist, like a social media influencer or whatever. These things didn't exist, right? So how can we still be thinking, well, at a certain age you have to be doing X, Y, Z, when there's all these new things that's appeared in life so it's like those old rules and standards, they're just pointless now.
They are pointless, and I feel like every old rule and standard was just good for the time, you know, and you kind of have to figure out. It's so weird, like this whole conversation is giving me anxiety because it's just so much pressure from everywhere, like so many different angles. Do you know what I mean?
There's so much
Pressure
layers
to be
to it.
this kind of person or this kind of person or this kind of person.
Yeah.
And I feel like a nomad sometimes, like I don't want to belong in any community.
But that's the thing, this sense of belonging, I don't even think there is no community anymore. Everyone needs to just like set their own rules, find like-minded people, set their own goals and just keep hitting them.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line for me.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things, like there's two girls that I know, both of them within the past 2 weeks have told me that they're engaged, yeah? They're both over 30.
Yeah.
That was like
blasphemy back in the day.
Do you know what I mean?
No,
like,
for real, yeah.
They both don't have kids.
Crazy.
They both don't have kids.
You're just triggering me more and more. I'm joking.
They're both over 30. If you told these people at 20 or 15 that this would be the case, they would have thought it would have been hell. But it's not hell. It's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing.
That's what I mean. Like, whose rules are we really living by?
You know what? It's so true. It is a beautiful thing, because even though that statement is also giving me anxiety, it's also it does also make me think, like, I'm glad that I dated the way I did and just had my 20s all to myself in a way, you know, because it does leave more experiences for the rest of your life.
Literally.
And you know what? I think part of it is our generation having more choice, whereas older generations didn't really have the choices. And it kind of makes you think, like, if they had the same choices that we have today, would they have made the same choices that they have made then?
Probably. It
Probably
depends.
not.
It depends. It depends again.
So.
It all depends.
Like, because everyone says, you know, like, oh, when I was your age, I had kids, when I did this, I blah, blah, blah. And I was like, but if you didn't have to do that, would you have not spent your 20s on your career or
100%.
traveling or like, why would you want kids straight away? Do you know what I mean?
You
wouldn't choose that.
This is what I mean. Like, you have to start looking at people differently based on the society. We're like a woman in her 30s without kids and a marriage shouldn't be looked at the way that it used to be, because times change completely. Like, what do you mean? Like,
I don't even think people look at it the same anymore, because now we're all in our 30s. We're like, oh, well, this is what it is.
It's become...
it's crazy.
It's the norm, though. Like, I do this thing sometimes when I get on the train and I look at women's hands and the lack of rings. It tells me.
I really hope you're the only person in the world who does this, because I'm going to start wearing a ring. Why do you do that? Oh my God. I'm being triggered left, right and center. I swear to God.
Nah, the lack of rings tells me that times have changed. That's what I'm going to say.
Times have changed.
Yeah, no, it's different. It's a different time.
Times have changed.
But there's a lot of beautiness in understanding that things have changed.
Like what?
I don't know. It's difficult to ask this question. I was going to say, who do you think has it not harder, but has more of a difficult task right now? The people of our generation, so the late 20s to mid 30s, that range, or the teenagers going into their 20s, so like the 16-year-olds to like the 21, 22s. It's difficult because we're not in that period, but you've got younger.
Yeah. That's who I was thinking of in my head. The Gen Z world is as insane as the ones who were older than us thought our world was. It just is. I feel like on the one hand, it's like we said, there's so many people on the internet that are just fake and pushing things. But then likewise, there's so many people on the internet who aren't like that. People like us, you know, there's a lot of mentors that were available than they were for us. But I'll be super real, you know, I think the generation before us is actually having it the hardest right now.
Do you think so?
Yeah, because one, they don't understand anything that's going on.
True.
There was a lot of friction between their generation and our generation, where I feel like millennials and Gen Zs do get along better.
That's not spoken about enough, you know.
Yeah, there's a mutual respect between those two generations, which is really cool. There wasn't that for the older ones. Ageism is such a real thing in the workplace. You see young people getting hired, and we talk about how younger people are expected to have all this experience and blah, blah, blah. But then older people who have all this experience are being made redundant or are seen as being overqualified for jobs, and employers don't hire overqualified people because they're worried that they're just going to leave, or people are pushed into an early retirement through being redundant, or it's really hard. And then on top of that, they absolutely and for the most part are so rigid-minded that they cannot understand a thing that's going on today when it comes to most things. And don't even get me started on the internet and AI. I don't know how those lot are handling that. Just to think how much the world has changed in 30 years from 0 to 30, but for them from 20 to 50 is crazy. I don't know how they're coping.
A lot of them aren't, to be fair.
Yeah.
Because even when I do speak to the older generation, it's funny that you say that, because they showed me, there was one guy and he was showing me like, you know, like in Islington, basically, some old Islington street, and how it looked with him growing up. And this is a guy in his like 50s, how it looked him growing up, like people having to, it just looked so dusty, basically, like in the nicest way possible. It looked so dusty compared to like current day, and you're like, these people have actually lived through the most changes, and not being able to understand the newest changes. Whereas us, we've lived through quite a few changes, but we've kept in tune with what's going on. Luckily, I don't know if that's just because we was the generation that got introduced to the internet first. So once you got hold of something first, you're always going to have an understanding of it. Maybe not how everything works, but you get an understanding of that. Whereas they didn't have it at all. And that's a total different ball game. Like, we can sit here and talk about, MSN. What's MSN like? WhatsApp? Do you know what I mean? Like, we can draw comparisons. Whereas they got no comparisons.
You know, growing up, like, I remember my mum did a computer course, and there were like these big, thick monitors with a black screen and green typewriting. That's what they had from the get-go. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know how crazy it is to go from that to this? Like, it's mad. And also, just everyone looking at them as if they hold such little value mentally with their opinions. And that generation, for the most part, not really helping themselves by not being willing to understand and move with the times, or at least understand the time that we're in. Like, for instance, there's so many backward perspectives, you know, like, for instance, someone saying, oh, you know, the only reason we have trans people today is because you can medically do it. But before, they were just tomboys and tomgirls. Like, that's not, you know, that's what it was. That's not what being trans is. But that's what they're computing in their head as an equivalent. So it's so far behind, combined with an unwillingness to be open-minded and combined with everyone else's unwillingness to be patient. It's tough, man. I'm glad that's not me.
It would be, I don't know. Obviously not the generation that follows us, but who knows, 2 generations away from us, we might not understand them at all.
We won't. I will be gone by then, touch wood. I do not even want to try. I don't.
How do you class a generation? Like, how many years do you class as a generation?
Say over 10 years.
Do you think so?
Maybe 15 years.
I was going to say 15 plus, I would say. Anyone
Yeah.
15 plus, that's a new generation to me. I would say so. Yeah.
I would say so, but 10 years I think is reasonable.
10 years-ish. I think 10 years there's a level of relatability that you could still have with them. But when it gets to 15 plus, it's a whole new world.
That's so true. Yeah, then it is a different generation completely, actually.
A whole new world.
It is a whole
new
You
wasn't
world.
even born when I was a teenager.
Oh my God.
That's crazy.
I'm so much older than my younger sibling. Like, it's literally like nearly 15 years.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
10 years is cool, isn't it? Like 10. I'm not a teenager yet. But 15. I'm about to be 16 and you're just being born kind of thing. Like, that's
yeah,
a
that's
whole new
crazy.
generation.
That's a different generation. Yeah, okay, I hear you. That is a different generation. That's true.
Yeah,
That's very
I don't
true.
know. I just think the world has changed so much. We are the adults of the world right now, yeah.
I hate
And it's
that.
like, you hate it, you said.
I really do.
It's coming to realization with it. Even like over the past week or so with the whole election stuff, yeah. This is the first time that I've actually had to consider. Like, I still don't think. Anyway, I'm not even going to get to the politics side of it. But this is the first time that I actually had to consider who is being voted for.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first time, and this is when I realized,
You're an
like,
adult.
not only that I'm an adult, but I'm a young adult. So this really impacts me for the next X amount of years. Like,
Yeah.
when I'm an adult, it's like, all right, you've been through it already, and this is just another round. But no, this is like my first time where I've looked at it, having certain things in life, like, not saying you have to have these things, but just like being a car owner, being a house owner, being a business, like these are the things.
Yeah,
Where
things
being
just
a career
directly
person,
impacts you.
right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, are we actually the adults of this world? So, as much as it is the younger generation's world, because I think they drive a lot of traffic, the younger generation, we're the adults of this world. So yeah, they're the kids of this world and they're the younger generation, but we are the adults, so we hold the most responsibility because we need to kind of shape it in a sense. Like, they still get the ultimate say, but not really, because they're not as interested in the things that shape the world as we are, or as we're meant to be anyway.
That's so true. And you know what? It's kind of made me realize something that, like, being an adult, I think the last few years in particular, or year, I suppose, I've just been really aware of the fact that I don't have someone telling me what to do, but not in a woo kind of way, more in like a, what do I do? You know, what do I do? And then speaking to people older than you and younger than you who just aren't really getting it, it just made me feel quite like hard done by, in that sense of like, damn, I wish I had someone who could just tell me what to do.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And now I'm thinking, I'm so sure my parents can relate to that feeling, like them being in the middle of their lives and not knowing what the right direction is, and their parents' guide map not being the same as theirs. And it's kind of making me think, like, coming full circle to you, that I don't think there's ever a set of rules. Like, you reach a certain point or time frame, or like you said, age, where things are directly impacting you and vice versa, that you kind of realize that you're no longer a follower of rules, you're a maker of them.
Maybe.
And that's a big responsibility, because you're like, well, what rules are there to make? And how does that coincide with someone else's rules who are who's so different from you?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, like, I think society's always changed throughout the years, but I feel like there was more of a normal evolution. Like, I it's difficult to say, but especially from my point of view, it's difficult to say because my mum moved here. She wasn't born in this country. So that was already a big difference from what her mum did, yeah? But let's say someone's parent, whose parent was already here, yeah? It's like there is a pathway of this is what you can do, this is what you should do. And society wasn't really changing drastically. Whereas, like I said, since we've been here, it's changed and evolved so much past beyond what our grandmothers could say that we can't even go speak to our grandmothers for advice or our grandparents for advice, realistically. Because what does your grandparent know about this current world, realistically? They know bits of it.
Yeah.
But you can't even tell me about the housing situation because houses were 20p when you was growing up. Like,
it's so true.
It's different. It's different. Like, it's just different. And it's I don't know. It's just,
what grounds you though? Like, when it comes to decision making and rules and knowing how to navigate complicated things, because that's the thing, you know, like when you're younger and you think, oh, when I'm 30, when I'm this, I'm gonna have this and that and do this and blah blah blah, and then you go through your life and it's just not like anyone else's.
Yeah, I think at this stage it's friends, you know, like realizing that friends are going through certain things as well and having those grown conversations where it's like nothing's off the table, but there's no, like, you still keep stuff private to yourself, obviously. You don't tell all your business, but you can have relatable conversations where you realize, all right, cool. So we're all kind of just trying to work this out. And I think it's kind of realizing that nobody's got it figured out.
Yeah.
And you're going along the journey, and that's grounding in itself because you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And
you don't, like, maybe there is no right and wrong except for the obvious stuff.
Yeah, obviously there's stuff that you learn along the way that the consequences of doing X, Y, and Z. But yeah, because even, I don't know if it's the same for you, but hasn't your conversations changed with your parents? Like, before you could go to your parents and proper get advice on certain things. Yeah. Whereas now
they ask you for advice.
Almost, yeah. Like, they'll ask you for stuff, and it's like, because they're looking at you like, this is your world. Like, tell me kind of thing. Like, what's going on? Even when there's madness.
You're like, you think I know what to do in this world?
Haven't you ever just sat down and, like, you see when the news is showing madness and your mum might be like, oh, that's so sad, what's going on? And you could actually kind of break down what's going on. Yeah. A bit more than what they know, innit? Yeah. And it's just like, so what happens in the reverse? There's some things, like relationship-wise, you can still go to your parents about. Because relationships are kind of just one of those things, right? It's more character.
Human things.
Yeah, human things.
The older generation.
Yeah, they're still great at it. Yeah. And I don't know, it's just the new stuff. Things are changing so much that you can't really lean on them the way that you should be able to. And I think that's very much a inner city problem. I don't think that's the case when you go certain other places, which probably even drives my thought of maybe one day I'm going to just leave this place, but I don't have anything outside. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, sometimes I'm not jealous, but you know, like, sometimes when you see some people that might have moved here from another country, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm just going to return home for a bit, and you know that home is like
somewhere really nice,
such a different
environment
to what we're going through on the day-to-day here kind of thing. So
in the trenches of London,
literally
abusively expensive,
literally, because I don't think it would have changed that much in certain places. Obviously some places, more affluent places, is kind of keeping up with the times, but I'm thinking of myself heritage wise. My dad's in St. Lucia. Like, if I go back there, he could probably tell me everything I need to do to live the same way he's living out there, if you know what I mean. Like, this is how you get a house here, this is what you need to do. Whereas here, if he still had his property here, he could tell me what you need to do, but things have changed so much that, yeah, those steps might still be in place, but you need to do all these extras now.
Yeah.
So
there's loads of mini steps now.
As a person by themselves as well.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of it now, you need partners to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you do.
And then there's that burden of, you don't just want to, there's so many people together doing stuff just for convenience. Like, are you really there for the right reasons, or is it just because it's convenient to you, to both of you?
That's very, very, very true.
So, yeah, it's just, there's, I don't know, society's just, it's not a mess, but it's all muddled right now, and there's just no clarity.
I think it's always been muddled, but I think it is also, like you said, an inner city thing. I don't think it's as muddled outside of London.
So we bring it on ourselves, basically.
They've brought it
on us, but it's the environment we live in. We've had to adapt. And we can't live the way that we used to, otherwise you'll just get swallowed up by it. to be fair.
The way that we used to, what do you mean?
Like just how London used to run. I think there's always been a level of hierarchy and certain things in London, but there just used to be this, from what I remember, maybe because I was looking at it from a kid's eyes, kids' lenses, sorry, like there just used to be a bit more community, and maybe it does exist in some cultures still.
No, there was. Like, I remember there used to be like a fruit and veg man who'd come around with his car and you just buy things from there.
Yeah,
like,
it's not even just the actual like transaction side of it. It's just like people used to share stuff. Like they'll give you little tips on how you can do this, or like you might be living next door to someone and they're telling you what they do, or do you know what I mean? There's just a bit more.
That does exist outside of London. That's basically what my brother's living like now.
Yeah, because you go to some like older estates where people have been living there for 20 plus years and you still get that. But it's like, I think with all these new builds and stuff, it's like, who is everybody? We're just pulled from everywhere.
And different cities as well, like even the Midlands, they're a lot more friendly and open and it's normal to like share. And London's so individualistic.
I think it still exists in London, but everybody's just been pulled apart. Like it still exists in pockets, but it's just like everyone's just pulled apart. It's just strange. It's just strange.
And everyone's so temporary. Like everywhere is so expensive. So you'll have someone who lives somewhere for 3 months, then somewhere else for 6 months, and some like it's just so. Everything just feels so disposable.
I'm not saying there was loads of homeowners before, but there was homeowners before.
That's so true.
And people would like, I'm not talking about younger people, like older people, but you know that they're there now for a while. So you're going to get to see these people and grow up around these people constantly. Whereas now, like you just said, people are chopping and changing. People ain't owning homes, so that means they're renting and they're moving frequently.
Yeah.
Council houses ain't the same. Like estates are being torn down and new builds are coming with just random people from everywhere just coming to live here for a few minutes, and then it's just it's just it's different. Different times. But I mean, we're growing
like
up for
who knows though, there might be like a whole new way of living.
I think we're on the verge of it, to be fair.
Yeah, because it kind of has to be.
But that goes back to my point. Like, whose rules are we living by?
For me, I don't know. I feel like all the rules, and maybe it's the Sagittarius in me, I don't know, which means nothing to you, but, you know, whatever. But, like, I don't know. I feel like, for me, similar to you, my friends are a community to me, and they really are anchoring for me. But I think what anchors me the most, to go back a step further, like to think about happiness, what makes me happiest is doing the things that make me happiest, like all my daily stuff that I know that's going to make me feel good. I like doing that. Or praying, because I can't I think that's why I don't feel
but these are all stuff that you've not chosen for your happiness, but like nobody's pushed it onto you, kind of thing. Like, it's not a society standard to do these things. These are things that you just enjoy doing, right?
But no, I mean, like, in terms of, because there's so many ways I'm not meeting society standards. So what does that mean? Am I just going to feel shit about myself every day? Yes.
But you shouldn't, though.
But also, I think the thing that, like I said, grounds me through that is when I just think of what God's words are to me, and not God's rule book, you know, in any of the books, not God assigned to a religion and this is the way to live by and that's the be all or end all. Just truly, what is God's spirit source, the universe, saying to me? And then I remember my whole life up until now and how 5 years ago I couldn't have imagined today for myself, and 10 years ago I definitely couldn't have imagined today for myself. So you're not going to come this far just to stop. And that allows me to be a bit more flexible, because if I think about the rules of life, like by this age you're supposed to do this, or by this age you're supposed to do that, or blah blah blah, like they just don't really matter because I haven't done it.
That's what I mean more so by when I say whose rules are we living by. It's more a case of like the standards that's been set by society. are we still living to those? Are you still living to those standards? Because I'm not. I'll be honest, like, I'm not. Because some of the stuff that you thought, once you get there, you've got there, if that makes sense. It doesn't matter at all. Like, at all. There's still so much more or other stuff that feeds you that society standards means nothing.
Like what?
Just like, even just the whole, is it called nuclear household? Yeah. Like, I'm all for it. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't trade it for the world right now. But it's like, are you laughing because I know right now?
That's just such a you thing to add on. I was going to ignore it.
It was such a passing comment. Yeah,
I know. That's why I was like, I'm not even going to.
I heard myself say it and I was like, can I just skip past that word? But like,
I was going to skip past it, but go on. But yeah, it's just a you thing to say.
No,
but yeah,
100%. Like, I'm all for it, yeah. And I think there's so much value in it. But I don't think it's the be all end all for everybody. Do you know what I mean? Like, but society standard will make you think that everybody needs to have this to achieve a certain level of happiness or success or and I do think there's a lot of value that lies in it, but again, to repeat myself, I don't think it needs to be the standard for everybody.
No, and like, it depends on every single person and their own individual lives, you know, like it might be really essential and work really well for some people, and for others it could have really held them back, you know.
100%.
Like parents who stay together, like you said, for convenience because it's too expensive to divorce or for the kids or whatever, and they just end up creating more misery. You know, it's just like, that's what also makes me think you just can't compare yourself to society's rules, you know, and like what's going on, because their rule book is made for their life or their circumstances or whatever. I think the only rule to follow is what's the game and what's the best way for you to play that in a way that is most joyful for you with the least amount of resistance and pressure. But obviously those are just words. Like, in real life it is really different when you see people experiencing a different journey to you. And
I think it's tough because right now life's been made harder to do a lot of things by yourself, but we're so divided that doing it with anyone else is just as hard. If that makes sense. True,
but I feel like the real state of being that everyone needs to be, because there's such a line between don't be codependent and depend on anyone, but then, you know, being so independent, we've all forgotten what interdependence is like, you know, like, oh, I'm going to go to work, can you watch my kids? You can't ask your neighbor to do that these days. You don't talk to your neighbor. Literally. So they are more of a stranger than a stranger in your life.
Literally.
To ask to watch the most valuable thing in your life, it's just so different.
Yeah. I don't know what will ever bring it back, but.
And then also, is it a good thing to bring it back? Because back in the day, you'd have a neighbor who you thought you knew inside out, and who knows what's in his basement.
This is it.
You know, you just never know, like, anything. There's so much we just can't control. And I don't know. Sometimes I just have like a cop-out answer for myself, which is, you know, if multiple lifetimes exist, then I'll have another one. So it just doesn't matter what happens in this one, because I don't remember what happened in the last one. So I'm not going to remember what happened in this one. So let's just do what we want to the best we can and keep it moving. I think the hardest thing about that, though, like the thing that breaks through every barrier that I make, is just knowing or feeling like some people who live to certain rules or a certain standard are looking at you as a failure because you haven't got those things or done those things. And that's just the way life goes. But you can't explain that to anyone, even yourself. Like, it's so hard not to turn the arrow towards you and blame yourself for why things haven't worked out a certain way. You just nitpick at yourself. And it's just so sad, because sometimes that's just the way things go, and it's only when you get the things you want you understood why it took so long or happened so quickly.
100%. That's what you realise, though. Once you get certain things, it's like, yeah, I couldn't have had this before. I really couldn't have because
Yeah.
I don't know. Life's got a funny way of showing itself to you. But I just feel like there's just a lot going on in society that we don't think about. Like, we just live in our day to day, but there's a lot of changes that's going on around us every single day.
But what can we do? Because if you lived in it, if you tried to make sense of it, don't you think you just get lost and drown in it?
Depends. Some elements, yes, but other parts, I think it's important to just equip yourself with the knowledge of what's going on realistically, and it's not just book smart knowledge; it's social awareness. Realize what is really happening around you and what the knock-on effects of that are.
So where do you do that research?
You got to touch the ground. Literally, like, you just got to be outside and like air to the street kind of thing. Like, really look at what's going on in your surroundings. Look at what happened before. Just look, just understand life. And I think, get out of your
comfort zone.
Yeah, your comfort zone. But I was gonna say, get out your feelings. Like, don't shy away from things, and don't take things too personal, because it's just ever evolving and everybody's having to face the same thing at different times. And I'll be honest, COVID and lockdown was like the biggest neutralizer, because everybody had to go on the same level playing field. And then the things that's come of it, if you pay enough attention, it's just like, this was so obvious. This was just so obvious. This, like, it's just so obvious. Like, they made us be able to have to be with ourselves. Do you know what I mean? Like, what was a bigger indicator than that? Like, what was the bigger indicator than that? You have to be by yourself. That is such a save yourself mentality. Don't mix with the community. Save yourself kind of thing. Like, be by yourself.
Be 2 feet apart, if that.
That is the end of community right there.
True.
Because if you look at the past and when there's been stuff, it's never been a stick away from everybody. It's kind of just been like not a herd mentality, but like, let's all get through this together. But this was a thing of like, let's get through this together, but by ourselves kind of thing. And then from there, I feel like that's just the way society's been going since then. Completely. I might be wrong. I might just be overthinking and looking at life through a different lens.
No, I'm considering it. Because for me, I'm just like, that is true. That is what was made to happen, what was tried to happen, to keep everyone separate, to cover half our faces so we can't emote with each other anymore. It definitely impacted my social skills a lot. And I'm a social butterfly. So that was weird. But at the same time, I'm remembering all the silly ways that people found ways to connect.
Of course.
You know?
That's the elements that we should utilize more of. Because there was creativity in how to still maintain that. But not everybody could. Not everybody had that. Not everybody
we need
had
to bring
that.
back the music club.
Like, we had it. We found ways. Not everybody did.
Yeah.
And that's why, again, it goes back to what you asked me earlier, what keeps you grounded? And I said, friends. Because during that time, friends and family. Some people didn't have that.
And you know, it's so sad. Like, in my current job, I'm calling old people, well, all kinds of people, but mainly older people. Like, you know, pensioners and stuff. And it's so sad because they're just, every time I call them, they're just not doing anything. Any time of day, they're just like watching TV or something like that, and always down for a chat. And even though their kids visit them or their grandchildren, it's just them and their partner, and then their partner goes, and then it's just them. And it's like, who visits them? Like, can they pop to a neighbor's house? Can they do these kinds of things? It's just so sad.
That's it. I was going to say that's always existed, but they've always had a neighbor or somebody. Like, do you know what I mean? There's always
Yeah.
been. That's why I said you go to some old estates there where people have been there for 20 plus years, you'll still see it. But outside of that, it's lost.
Yeah.
It's lost. But, yeah.
But you know, one day we're going to be older people. And this is important to us. And this has encouraged me, not my new neighbors, but not my current ones, but when I move somewhere new, to make the effort of just doing something really different and introducing yourself and being like, oh yeah, because if you think about it, how does community start? Like, yeah, if it's already established as people noticing a new neighbor and bringing them food and saying hello. But just like when you start work, no one really comes up to you and says hello and blah, like a few people do, but it's you who goes up and introduces people or has like small chit chat, and then small chit chat turns into sharing more and more. Like, I think part of what holds us back is expecting things to just be there and not having the patience in such a fast moving world. Like in 30 years, so much has changed. So of course it happens, but not having the patience to let things grow.
Literally, that's it. Like, there's nothing's going to be immediate.
They rush friendships, they rush connection, they rush relationships, you know, like sometimes in 4 months' time, there's all this flow and whatever, and you're just like inseparable, and it's like a sure thing. And sometimes things take longer to grow. Like, this is a stranger. It is normal. Like, that is normal.
Like you said, we don't afford ourselves that time anymore.
You don't even know who you're meeting. Like, I've known someone who would just jump on people as soon as they'd meet them because they just so desperately wanted connection. And you have to let things grow naturally.
That takes a lot of patience, though. And it feels like there's no time in this current climate.
Because we keep thinking the world's about to end. Since 2012, there's been
2000.
all these things.
Since the year 2000. Some people
Since the turn of the millennium, the time has been on.
That's what they said, right? But
why do you think the older generation cared about their mortality the same way that we do?
Yes and no. Depending on which section of people you're talking to, I think. Because it depends how old you're going as well. Yeah. But like some of them would have seen wars and stuff. And would have lost people in that sense and just thought, God, that's crazy. Do you know what I mean? And then there's another batch that maybe not so much, but maybe they was more in touch with religion. And
we need to integrate older people back into society.
I mean, the best place to do it is workplaces.
Yeah, but I mean, even like the older people who don't work and who are retired.
How?
And I don't have all the answers. I have the questions, because that is what society is missing too, like elders. And they, you know, part of, I don't know, because I'm thinking if I was a much older person, like in my 60s, how would I be? And I pray I'm still open-minded.
A lot of the 60-year-olds are scared of the younger generation right now because of the image that's being portrayed on TV.
Exactly.
And it's like, it might be no, this ain't really a trigger warning, but a trigger warning to anybody that's lost any kids or anything. There was a lady on TV the other day, and she was crying about her son had been stabbed. He's such a good boy, etc., etc. Right? And like, her son was, I'm gonna say it, he was a teenager anyway, and he had like a music video, a drill song, whatever. Right? I'm not stereotyping and saying because of that he was involved. Yeah. But it's like, she's so far removed. Maybe if his dad was around, I'm not saying his dad wasn't around, but his dad, I'll just go with my optics. She was on TV by herself. Like her dad there wasn't two of them there talking about him, right? Maybe if the dad was around and he had an inkling about that lifestyle, then there'll be a bit more clarity in her mind. But she's been left to her own devices, and she's so far removed from that aspect of life that she doesn't understand what's going on. And all she's seeing is what's being fed on the TV that these other kids are monsters, my kid's a saint. But sometimes it's like, it's not that the other kid was a monster, and it's not that your kid was a saint. They've just been caught up in a situation where, I'm not saying it's right what's happened to him, but like something has gone very wrong, if that makes sense. And it's not even a case of that one's a monster, he's a saint. It's just like, no, these are two people that's been put in a situation that neither of them should be in. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, I can only say that because I've grown from a certain environment. So my kids already have that advantage of having a father that understands that way of life a little bit, where, touch wood, nothing happens to them, but if they're ever caught up in a situation, I will be able to understand it a bit more. That will bring more clarity onto the mother than this lady, if that makes sense. And it's just that degree of separation that there's just something missing in society right now. And like you said, it's elders, but it's not even older than us, I don't think. Like I said, we are the adults of this generation. For this for this new generation, we are the adults. And it starts with us, I think. And I think what's gone before us is too far gone. What's the younger generation that's living right now, they're too far gone. It's the ones that follow them that we need to be the adults for and be able to guide those ones, I think. Yeah. More than anything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. Because they're not, like, these kids aren't people to be scared of.
No, they're not.
They're really not. Like, when you talk to them,
kids.
Talk to them on a one-to-one basis. Strip away the friends around them, the ego. Talk to them on a one-to-one basis. And they're kids. They're just what we was, but they're just in a situation that they shouldn't be in.
Yeah.
But it is what it is now. Like, it's, as harsh as it sounds, it is what it is now. It's kind of like, yeah, they shouldn't be in it, but what are we going to do? You can't just tell them to stop. That's not going to work. And that's what the older generation want to do. The ones older than us, they just want to say to them, stop, why are you doing this? But they're not talking to us. That might have worked on us because things wasn't as crazy. Like, the environment wasn't as mad as it is now.
And the future wasn't so bleak and everything wasn't as expensive.
Everything wasn't as immediate. Even their actions are immediate.
You know, boredom is the trigger for most things.
100%.
And you take away passions, interests, things that cost money in communities, you know, then you're going to have bored adults and bored kids. And what do? You search for stimulation in any way you can. Part of stimulation is conflict.
Yeah.
So the issues just go so much deeper.
It's the thrive for the immediate. Like, there's no long-term thinking in what's going on because everything is microwave. Everything. So even their actions are microwave actions. Like, it's now or do or die
or never,
kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? And it's not, I don't know. Things have just changed, right? Things have changed dramatically.
It has. And you know what, like...
No, go on.
For me, and this is going to sound however it sounds, but it's just the heart of the matter, which is the heart of the matter. I feel like part of what brings people closer is genuine care and compassion and stuff like that. And what separates someone from someone else is I have all this stuff on my plate and that person doesn't. You don't know what they have on their plate. And we don't share it because we're so scared that someone's going to judge us or use it against us. And 9 times out of 10 they do, you know? So I feel like all this stuff just builds resentment around your heart and makes you close in on yourself even more and feel more independent or have this individualistic stance because we just can't trust each other. And, you know, the solution, I don't know what the solution is, but I feel like part of the solution is to do a very hard thing, and as cringe or whatever as it sounds, just open up our hearts. Like, we need to do that. If you think about how scared we are to do that on a day-to-day, it's crazy. Like, why do we find it so awkward and weird to talk to each other at the train station?
I don't know.
Because it is awkward and weird. You're just
know.
like, oh, I don't want to be that weirdo, or I don't want to be this. And we are so mistrustful of people who are friendly, you know? Like, I've got a friend who came here. She used to live in Liverpool, and we got along straight away. And she was like, oh my God, you're so friendly and smiley, and people in London just aren't like that. And I was like, that is so true.
It's weird because I've even noticed it within myself, yeah? There was a stage in my life where, I don't know, I would just say stuff to people in real life. Like,
I remember this phase. That's jokes.
We might bump into each other, and instead of just saying sorry, it might like share a little joke or something and keep it moving. Like, I don't want nothing more from you. I don't want a conversation. I'm just, and it's just like a friendly little exchange. Whereas now, it's literally, kind of thing.
Yeah,
and it's moving. Like, even if I have those thoughts in my head, I'm like, I don't want to be that. Like you said, I don't want to be that weirdo. Like, what's this guy talking to me for? Like, or
what do they think I want? Or blah blah blah. And most people will, and some people won't. But there's all these different ways that we have closed ourselves off from each other in such small ways for fear of being judged. You know, in some way. Like, that's literally our hearts closing.
Literally.
Yeah.
But I always feel wrong for not doing it sometimes. Like, this is within me, so just be yourself, and however the other person receives it, that's a them problem kind of thing. So I still do it from time to time, but it just depends on the environment and space. Like, you can't do it all the time. But I don't know. It's just you can, but you can.
The only thing stopping you is if you're not in the mood that day, because on those days you really need someone like you to brighten your mood in that moment.
Sometimes you do, yeah. But other times it's like, I think I've got to the stage where I don't care what the other person's reaction is.
You know what's so crazy? Yeah, like whenever I'm on the receiving end of someone friendly, it always makes me feel good. Like, I never actually look at them like, oh, this person's trying to come onto me or whatever. Like, I literally am just like, oh, that was a nice person, you know, or that was a nice interaction. Like, it does shift my energy in a positive way. And if it doesn't, that's because I'm so deeply in such a bad mood, no one can help me except myself. It's truly my problem.
Yeah, that's true. I was just thinking the last time I done it was the other day. I was on the walk, like I was just walking through the park, and there's this girl, and she was getting dragged by her dog.
That is so embarrassing. But
and I was just like to her, like, she was trying to cross past me, and I was just like, at least it builds up your strength or something like that. And I just kept it moving, but it's like she smiled, and she looked at me, and I don't know if she thought I was gonna say anything more. I kept it moving, and then she just kind of ran away with her dog, and I'm just like, was that exchange so awkward to her that she was like, let me run home now. Not run like
it is though.
Run away like weirdo. It was just like she was energized.
Just quickly get away.
Let me just get out of this situation.
It's true, like, you know, like when you actually deepen, and she might not have known how to respond, but it brought more life into her. You know, she started walking with a bit more step. And it's so crazy that we walk through the world thinking other people hate us so much that you just can't say normal things, like friendly normal things. Yeah. Because that's essentially how you're moving through the world, that everyone hates you and no one wants to talk to you. That's such a, like, when you really think about it in, say, if your heart is a child and what it's receiving, it's so painful.
It is.
That's how everyone moves. Like, it's not like, oh, I don't want to talk to this person. It's like, no, that person absolutely doesn't want to talk to me. We're rejecting ourselves constantly.
Yeah. But what's the knock-on effect for that, though?
Everything that we've spoken about today is because of that. Like, what is small amplifies into what is big. You can't go from that person who is scared to have a small interaction with a man in the park to them being brave enough to make your own doctor's appointment on the phone. How the hell are you going to do that?
But then who really... It's going to be such a flip in what I'm about to say. You see, like, when I go online and I feel like girls pose in a certain way or revealing themselves in a certain way is at an all-time high, yeah? But when you meet some of those people in person, in the real life, on a day-to-day, they're the complete opposite of that. if that makes sense. Where's that disconnect come from? Because I look at them and I'm like, who are you? Like, not even who are you, but what has led you to choose yourself to do this compared to in your real life when you're outside? You're a complete different person.
So true.
Is it not the lust for attention, but is it like a feeling of, I don't know, I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. Because when I say about the new generation and people being scared of them, I don't just mean like all the stuff that's happening on the streets. I mean that side of it as well, like of these girls online doing whatever they're doing. Like when I speak to some of the older people, it's like they just don't understand what's going on across the board. Literally.
It's so true, Mum. Could you imagine? I can't imagine speaking to some of the people I've spoken to today and showing them Instagram and what goes down there. Because, yeah, you know what? That's interesting to me, because when I was working in social influencers and stuff, we worked with mum influencers. And all of them online, like you've seen influencers, hi guys, blah, 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 this is this, whatever, so sociable, so confident, so out there, so like, yeah, I'm posting all my life in front of you guys and I'm very confident doing it. You meet them in person, they're mostly like a shell of themselves, you know? That's the thing, like, I think when women are posting themselves in that way online, part of it is very liberating, because you do look beautiful. The female body is amazing in whatever form, and it is great to receive all the compliments that come with that. But then I think what's so interesting as well, to have the reason why it's momentary and not real confidence and connection, is because you're getting all these likes, you're getting all these DMs, you're getting all these comments from girls who might hate you in real life, saying all the best things in your comments, you know, because that's what women do to each other sometimes. And then you have like your real friends, whatever. And then you have all these guys and this, that, and the other, and people just messaging you. You get this influx of connection. And then you go back to your lonely life, you know? And internet connection isn't real life connection. Like that DM that you're having is not the same as even being on the phone to a friend or being in front of them. So then now you're in front of someone face to face, and your body isn't used to that. Like it doesn't always know how to handle that. It's like when you might be used to, I don't know, fake dates with guys, like guys who just meet you in their car or at their house or whatever. Then you go on a real date with someone, and even though it's the better, healthier, happier thing, it feels so out of place and uncomfortable, like you don't know how to move your body or whatever, because you're just not used to what it's like to go out with a real man. So it's things like that. It's just nothing is the replacement for the real thing.
100%.
So, and we all find connection without the real thing, because every single person thinks that the other person doesn't want to connect with them. But they do. They really, really, really do. Like, just as much as you want to say a jokey thing to a person on the train, they want to hear that. You think everyone enjoys their sad, miserable journey? No. We found ways to make it nice by connecting to art, like podcasts and music and shows. We're still searching for connection. But
do you think what prevents that is a lack of trust?
I think it's so many things. Like if you think of every issue as a fly buzzing around to distract you, it distracts you from what you really want in your own life. You know, like you could be thinking about, oh, what did this person think of me when we had that phone call? Or what does this think of me? Or, oh my God, I'm still not doing this. So I need to rush towards my goals. I'm so behind. All these things are just you telling your own heart that you are just not good enough. And you need to continue coping either through a facade or through avoidance and tapping out or being a workaholic. You need to do everything outside of your nature to be this thing. And no one's this thing really, but everyone else looks like they're this thing. It's like this constant way of separating yourself from yourself and other people. And I don't know, like I said, these issues are so big. They've existed long before me and probably after me. 100%. So I don't have the answers, But what I can say and what I'm trying to do, and on the days that I do it, I feel better, is you have to like really connect to yourself in a razor sharp way. And you can't give anything to the community until you have given enough to yourself as the individual. And that's not a selfish thing. So you need to do that first and just understand what your heart says to you. And then you as a person will be able to extend that to others who can also receive it. And that just needs to be the focus, you know, like when you heal one by one, if everyone just did that in their own small way, it would do so much collectively. But if everyone wakes up every day and the first letter they open is a bill, and the first email that they look at is an ad, and the first video that they see is a naked man or woman who probably don't look like the way that they even do in real life, and you for sure will never look like them, and that's all happened in the first hour, 30 minutes of your day, of course the way you move in society is going to be different. Yeah, you know, and then everyone's talking about how things were and how things are, so how are things going to be. All of this is just a distraction, because it's never going to be how it was, and we don't know what it's going to be. So it's like what you said, you just have to make your rules for living and for happiness there and then, and be open-minded to your rules changing as you meet different people as well. And also bear in mind that someone else's rules can be drastically different than yours, and it can be so sad because you can see how there's no love in their rules, but there's just nothing you can do about it.
That's true. That's all true.
Thank you. I feel like I went on a rant.
Not at all. This feels like a throwback episode.
Like a little fun therapy.
This is
it is a fun little throwback.
A fun throwback episode.
It is. I really have enjoyed it.
100%. Sometimes you just need to talk. Like, take everything off the table and just have a conversation about what we're actually living in currently. It's very much a throwback episode.
Would you say you're happy?
Yeah.
Okay. That's nice.
You?
Not really, you know.
No,
I don't think I'm that happy as a person. I've been thinking about it lately. And when you actually admit that to yourself, you can see exactly what isn't making you happy. And that's a really good first step.
It's a good step.
Yeah.
A very good step.
But I just wanted to admit it out in public.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's obviously the first step.
Like an alcoholic. I'm joking.
Just took a turn to the left. Like, there's stuff in my life that I know would make me even happier. But do I wake up in a day-to-day unhappy? Nah, I don't.
What makes you happy?
So many things. So many things in
like
my life.
What?
I don't know. Family. The way my brain works makes me happy, which is crazy to say.
That's so nice.
But the way my brain works makes me happy. Like, it doesn't allow me to, it doesn't let negative things fester. Like, I'm always solution based. So like, even in a moment where I can be thinking all just, there comes a point where my brain just, it feels like it hits me like,
is that enough?
What's the solution here? And then I might not even have the right solution immediately, but there'll be something that clicks and I'll just be like, oh, maybe try this. And then that might not even be the best solution, but it now diverts my attention to something else to try. And the thought of trying something uplifts my spirits.
Yeah.
So.
No, it allows you to stay in a state of expansion and hope.
Yeah, so my mind, the way my mind works is, because I have a lot of, not in the day because that would sound very bad, but I have a lot of conversations sometimes, or I don't want to say confrontations, but difference of opinions that don't always go my way sometimes. And if I just lived in that moment, I probably wouldn't be happy. But it's like my brain doesn't let me live in that moment. It's like, all right, you had that little conversation. Cool. Do you really want to? So let's say I've been asked to do something.
It's like your biggest. Do not ask Darren to do a thing.
But that's it. Like, I'm cool with doing it. I'm super cool with doing it.
Just don't like being told to do it.
But it's not even that. It's when you now add layers to what you're asking me to do. It's like, So if you thought of this from the start, why didn't you just give me everything? Like,
Yeah.
don't add layers to it.
Well,
but then it's like, my brain is like, all right, are these layers that detrimental to you? If they are, cool, stand on it. If they're not, what's the solution so it still works in your favor? And if I didn't have that last part of what's the solution that still works in your favor, then I probably wouldn't be happy more times than not. But like, I can have that conversation. I can show my distaste to what you're saying to me. And then 5-10 minutes later, however long it takes, I've moved on because there's something in my head that's moved on. Whereas now when I come back to this person, they might still have that same, not animosity, but that feeling of, you was just so anti, I don't even want you to do it anymore. But it's like, no, I'm cool to do it. Like, because now in my head,
you've just moved forward.
Yeah, I found a way that, okay, I can do it, but let me just do it this way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But obviously it's dangerous because some people don't allow you that space of
thinking.
Yeah. And it's sort of very like back and forth. So yeah.
Unless you say, let me think on this.
Yeah, you could always do that. But
you're like, always assume the mastermind is in action.
In the moment, you don't really.
Again,
sometimes in the moment, you don't even allow yourself to
give yourself room.
But you know, you're meant to know yourself better than anyone else, right? So you kind of have an understanding that maybe they don't like, they might know you, but they don't know everything about how your mind works. If that makes sense. They might know how your mind works, but how can I put this? They might know that you get to a certain place in your mind, but they don't know the steps it takes in your mind to get there, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you just come to an understanding that people in your life, you've chosen majority of people to be in your life for a reason. And they're not going to know everything about you. They should know enough, but not everything. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Those little things that, the way my mind works makes me happy and stuff.
Yeah, I like that. I'm glad you shared that. It's shed a lot of light on what makes me unhappy. Like staying in negativity, or because I feel like I'm solution based too, but then I just think of the problems too much. And the problems that I'm thinking of are things that I just can't really control. And trying to withhold pain from people that I love, but that's an impossible task.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think I've tasked myself with that for so long that I was just very unaware of what pain was being caused to me.
Very much. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, there's things that in life that will make me a lot
and daily
happier.
habits and stuff like that as well. I feel like I do this every podcast, David. Obviously today I was cleaning again, and Wednesdays are just the day for it. I was doing it while I was working. I was like, this is amazing. Why haven't I done this before? But I just cleared out all my drawers and all my stuff and just reorganized everything for the best livability, which changes every once in a while according to your livability. So even stuff like that makes me so happy because I just feel my own little world has more structure.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah,
it's important. I done it today as well, but it was on a smaller scale. I was just emptying my bag. Like,
that's the
just
best
had so
one.
much unnecessary papers and stuff in there. I'm like, let me get rid of this.
Yeah.
But another thing that I do, which I used to not want to do, because I think I don't want to disturb anyone, but like I don't do it so much with WhatsApp, but like if I get messages on any social media platform or whatever and I haven't responded to it by a certain time of the day, I just leave it till when I wake up in the morning. If I do message anyone on WhatsApp anyway, it's for a reason, but it's just like I know that whatever I'm going back to say to this person is either going to be funny or like not useful, but it's like it's not going to bring a downer to your day. So even though it's super early, because I wake up early and I'm doing it at, let's say, 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., even if you're not a 6 a.m., 7 a.m. person, number one, more for you if you got your notifications on loud and it wakes you up. That's your fault. But secondly, like when you do wake up and you see that message, it's not going to bring a downer on your day. So let me just do it anyway. And it's just like, I wish more people would start their day with even just like seeing a friendly name just makes your day.
It really does, you know, like me and my friend Adrian, who you met, like, and was on the pod, we sometimes will message pretty much every morning, and it will always be something jokes, you know, unless someone really it needs help or whatever, or we'll just like have a quick call in the morning, and it's so nice to start your day with someone that you really love, who always uplifts you. It's just, yeah, it's a vibe to start your day like that.
Literally. I try and do that more often. But yeah.
I think the worst case scenario hardly ever happens, and no one's actually in a rush as much as you think they are, you know, when it comes to like responding to people and stuff like that.
Some people.
Yeah.
Some people. Let's leave it there. Some people.
We will leave that there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's important to be happy though. So.
How? Sorry. Sorry. It's been a hard week, I'm not gonna lie.
How like it's so impossible.
It does feel that way sometimes though.
It's important to be happy. I think that's the key of life. And just finding your happiness. Whatever makes you happy to do it. Even with like the whole ages thing, there's certain things that they say, by a certain age. It still makes you happy to do it.
Yeah.
That's what I've realised. So, yeah, I mean, set your goals, hit your goals, make yourself happy. It's not going to be true throughout the whole day, but as long as there's certain parts of your day that you're doing that makes you happy, then... Like,
overall, you're pretty happy with your life.
Yeah. You got to be happy with your life. Even if you're not happy with every element of your life, because that would be unrealistic until you're gone, I guess. Like, there's elements of my life I'm not happy with, but work in progress.
Whip it.
Work in progress.
Work in progress. Yeah.
I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a interesting episode.
Yeah, it was nice. It's good to freestyle sometimes.
Hope it was good listening, because
not gonna lie, that was not thinking about you guys at all with that one, but I hope it helped.
No, every time it's good for people to just see the reality of it. Not that our other episodes aren't, but they're more from a structured standpoint, whereas
this is just like a snapshot of the moment that we're in today.
Literally.
Yeah, it's true, man.
Literally.
Damn, that's so true.
So
just started chatting straight away. Love that.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously, more than likely next episode back to regular programming.
Yeah.
So
we're not gonna spill our hearts out every week.
Anything that you want us to talk on, any messages you have for us, please do get in touch with us as always.
Yeah.
We appreciate the support, the community.
Exactly. You'll always have a community here.
Literally. And it's been fun.
It has been fun.
Until next time.
Why are you laughing?